Today we're taking a look at a clingy scallywag that inspired tales of love, desire, and mischievous games, and was the secret weapon of mothers and caregivers all over the world. But what frustrated gardeners might not know is that the headaches caused by this prolific adhesive weed are that the mighty little cleaver can actually cure the very migraine it caused in the first place. Cleaver goes by many amusing names, like Whippy Sticks, Sticky Willy, and Robin Run the Hedge, for obvious reasons. This straggling weed has fine barbs lining its delicate stems. These tiny hooked fibers grab hold of anything in their path, creeping over other plants, surfaces, and unsuspecting passers-by. They stick to everything. Stem, seeds, and leaves are adhesive to fur and clothing alike, and their small greenish and white blossoms are so dainty that they can barely be spotted in between the crisscross of the prolific feelers that vine over anything that crosses their path. The botanical name, Gallium aperine, derives from two Greek words meaning milk, because the ancient Greeks used the prickly little creeper during the process of curdling milk, and a Greek term meaning to seize, a perfectly appropriate title for a bountiful little rascal that never misses the opportunity to get tangled in your hair. Cleaver is found across every continent on the earth. It's difficult to say where this highly spreadable plant originated from. They might have made their way to the Americas after hitching a ride on a sailor's pant leg, or they might have fixed themselves to a migrating bird's wings centuries ago. Who knows for sure? What we do know is that they are everywhere and on everything. And we shouldn't be surprised that this fascinating plant has glued itself to tradition and folk tales. The Swedes weave sieves from the thin trails and strain milk through them. They say it gives the milk healing properties, a practice still used in Scandinavian countries today. Native American women used an infusion of cleaver to bathe in if they were hoping to find true love. Cleaver root was indeed used to dye textiles red, but it was said to be so potent that it could even dye your bones red from the inside. And in Britain, children nibbled casually on the stems that were usually given to livestock for cheap and easily accessible fodder. They threw each other with handfuls of the adhesive clusters. If a cleaver stuck to you, you were going to find love soon. If it did not, you were out of luck. Its connection to love and desire is still applied to potions by modern practitioners of witchcraft. But the abundant foliage has more in store than a little love and childish games. Its use as a potherb for everyday ailments during medieval times was common, and notation of its use in ancient hieroglyphs dates back to the great Egyptian pharaohs. It was a helpful aid to treat skin conditions. Ironic, since its prickly burrs can cause quite a bit of skin irritation in and of itself. But when cooked down into a concentrated poultice, it was applied to conditions like acne, rashes, psoriasis, and even burns. Weeping wounds and discharging infections were managed with cleaver's astringent qualities. It allowed for blood and fluid to coagulate more effectively. Strips of cloth were soaked in infusions made from cleaver and placed over affected areas, and the antiseptic attributes served to draw the heat out of swollen and infected skin. Because of this ability to draw out heat, it was also had in the form of tea to reduce fever very effectively. Antiseptic and anti-inflammatory in nature, it was applied to cuts and scrapes, not only to fight infection that had already settled in, but also as a preventative measure against bacterial invasion. It was a very valuable tool for any mother with children prone to bumps and bruises, fevers and rashes, for centuries. Cleavers were actively used to target the lymphatic system. It lessened swelling in the lymph nodes and breast tissue, and combined with its notable diuretic effects, which encourage the body to expel waste through urination, it's very effective at helping the lymphatic system expel toxins when they are under strain, clears the urinary tract to treat infections, and helps pass kidney stones more effectively. It's a shame that there hasn't been more study put into the very obvious medicinal effects that the cleaver brings to the table, especially its very evident ability to reduce swelling and fever, and help the body pass along the water. There is no shortage of its effectiveness in historical records across the continents. Today, its use is mostly sold as herbal extracts to help those who suffer from insomnia. But for those of us interested in exploring the ways of our forefathers, here are some of the ways people in the past prepared cleaver. For most of its medicinal applications, the leaves, stems, seeds, and flowers are utilized. Steeped into a tea or reduced down to a strong decoction, you'll only need water and heat to achieve your preferred application of the cleaver. Cleaver tea pairs with just about any other herb. Besides the strong-tasting fruits, the rest of the plant does not have an overwhelming impression of taste. It's got a grassy and slightly bitter undertone, so combining it with other more nuanced herbage is advised. To treat skin conditions, handfuls are added to boiling water and simmered down into a stronger concoction. Dressings are soaked in the remaining liquid and laid or bound over affected areas. The plant is perfectly edible and was often added to soups and stews in place of other leafy greens. But it's advised that you make use of young shoots. The more mature the cleaver gets, the tougher the clingy hairs become. Look out for rough little fruits at the ends of its stems. That's a good indicator that the plant has matured fully. And speaking of the fruits, they have a much different taste than their foliage. Cleaver is related to the coffee bean and has a very similar flavor profile to its distant cousin. Unsurprisingly, it's used as a coffee replacement, and cleaver even contains a little bit of caffeine. The seeds are dried, roasted, ground, and filtered exactly as you would regular coffee beans. Cleavers grow everywhere, and if a structure stands in the way of them crawling even further, well, they'll just vine up and over it. Just about nothing can stop this vigorous weed. A single cleaver plant can produce more than 500 seeds, so they spread incredibly far and wide. Usually, it's not advised to grow it for decorative purposes, but cleaver is very handy if you have livestock or poultry. Any farm animal will appreciate the never-ending grazing supply. Ducks and goats are especially fond of cleaver. And seeds don't care where they land at all. Dry, wet, shade, sun. Cleaver thrives in every condition imaginable. They are some of the last annual plants to die off as winter sets in, stubbornly poking out from under the first snowfalls of the season. And they're one of the first ones to come back in the spring. So if you do decide to keep cleavers at hand, it would be wiser to grow them in pots, and be careful to prune them back regularly before they develop fruits and seeds, or you might find that they spread so much that they smother out the rest of your garden. We're sure you've come across the cleaver while out in nature, but did you know that the sticky irritation was more than just a weedy nuisance? That its beneficial qualities were even greater than its stubborn grip? Or did you perhaps hear your grandparents hail it as a necessity in the household? Please drop a comment. We'd love to hear about your experiences. And if you've enjoyed this trip into the world of cleavers, do give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more exciting herbal adventures. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep celebrating the power of herbs. Disclaimer: I am not a medical doctor. If you are on chronic medication, pregnant, or suffering from any health condition, please consult a medical professional. I am here to relay my own thoughts and opinions. My videos are entirely based on my own research and experiences.